All right, a private moment suddenly made public, from the phone conversation to what happens in an elevator. It can be pretty embarrassing, or in the case of Donald Sterling, downright damaging. And yet, it keeps happening over and over. Celebrities and public figures assuming something is private just before it ends up online and in a very public way. So, how much privacy do any of us really have? Gene Casares takes a look.
From a private conversation,
if you don't feel, don't come to my games. Don't bring black people and don't come.
To an alleged elevator brawl. Is nothing private anymore?
Well, there may be a right to privacy, but there's certainly no reality to privacy anymore.
Donald Sterling says he had no idea his conversation with V. Stiviano was being recorded.
Did you know you were being recorded?
No, of course not. Of course not. No. I just wish I could ask her why. And if she was just setting me up, I think that people say she was taping me for 2 years.
Sterling's fellow NBA owner, Mark Cuban, who has never shied away from the limelight, says the red light of the camera is always on, no matter where you are.
First of all, you have no privacy. You know, from the little things like license plate cameras to walking down the street, there's sensors everywhere, there's cameras everywhere.
Case in point. What seemed to be a private elevator ride in New York's Standard Hotel turns out to be anything but. When TMZ posts the security video purportedly showing Beyoncé's sister Solange attacking Jay-Z, kicking him multiple times. Entertainment attorney Jeff Biederman says expectation of privacy in an elevator may not be warranted.
You'd raise the question of being in someone's home. You know, that's a different level of privacy you'd expect than, say, an elevator, which is a public place. Anybody can enter that. And, of course, many elevators in modern buildings do have cameras.
Security cameras are ubiquitous, capturing our every move. Yet most people never feel their privacy violated because the pictures never go public. But when the famous and the powerful are involved, the right to privacy is often trumped by the public's appetite for the tape. But Mark Cuban says celebrities have learned to expect this kind of exposure, and now you should too.
I'll give you another perfect example that should terrify you, right? If you tweet, if you post on Pinterest, if you have public postings on Facebook, all that information in your footprint will know more about you than you know more about you.
All right, Gene Casares reporting. Thanks so much. So there is the question now, how much privacy do any of us really have? Let me bring in our legal ladies. Mo Ivory is an attorney and radio personality, and Carrie Hackett is a criminal defense attorney. Good to see both of you. It's so great to be back together again. Okay, so Carrie, you first. You know, is the definition of privacy changing? Or does it have to change now that we've got, you know, cameras and phones everywhere?
Well, I think that there's a big difference between our subjective understanding and thoughts about what should be private and what legally is private. There's very little legally that is actually private. Pretty much in our homes, that should be private. Here in Georgia, a conversation between two people can be recorded, and you might not even know that the other person's recording you, and that is not a violation or a breach of your privacy. So very little is actually legally private.
So then, Mo, when people are in an elevator, in a, you know, whether it's a private business or a public building, you cannot expect that you're having a private moment, whether you're a celebrity or not, in the elevator. I mean, it really is out of your control.
Well, there is a reasonable expectation of privacy in an elevator.
To what degree?
Okay, so for example, they put the cameras very high up, so you're not at eye level, so you can't necessarily read lips or see people's expressions.
They're for security reasons.
They're for protection and for a valid business reason, right? So you're not allowed to have audio in elevators because that would violate federal wiretapping laws. And a lot of times they do black and white. You hardly ever see a color video from a camera in an elevator because it's to sort of give everybody in the elevator a little bit of privacy. So it's a reasonable expectation, but not a huge one. It is a public place still.
So in the case of Beyonce, Jay-Z, Solange, they're identifiable, maybe in large part because the person who supplied the tape said, hey, guess what, you know, let me tell you who's on there. But beyond that, if Beyonce, Jay-Z, Solange were to say, you know what, we're ready to sue the, you know, the Standard Hotel because this violates our privacy, would you have grounds on which to do so?
No, I don't believe so. And I think it depends, too, on what the hotel holds themselves out as providing. I mean, if the hotel contractually with their guests says, yes, you can have an expectation of privacy in our elevators, then certainly. But very few hotels would put themselves out there like that.
What is happening now when you have cameras everywhere, you've got, you know, whether it be audio or visual surveillance, and it may be there for security reasons, or it may be that folks are, you know, they got their cell phones and they can do and record anything. You're walking in a park, a mishap, anything, and people decide they want to videotape it. You, because you're in a public space, cannot expect that you have a private moment.
No, you
your
don't.
image is private.
When you're public and you are just out walking on the street and people are recording, you have no expectation of privacy. Now, when you are in the bathroom or you're in a dressing room or you're in a fitting room, anything like that, you do absolutely have an expectation of privacy. But out in public, and you know, I think the way we have dealt with social media and the way we have put all our business out, we sort of have diluted the idea of privacy. So there's sort of the street law, which is like what's really happening, and then the law to try to fit it into what sort of has become a societal norm.
Do you think that laws are going to be changing? Just like certain laws have been put in place with the advent of, you know, the internet, etc. But now privacy, our space, what we should expect, all of that has to change or is changing. So laws have to change too.
I think people want those laws to change to protect privacy interests. But I think particularly with celebrities or people that are in the public eye, I think at this point you really can have no real expectation of privacy.
Yeah.
All right.
And Donald Sterling, I mean, you know, there we go, right?
There's a lot to talk about.
There's a lot to talk about with his privacy, yes.
Okay, very good. Mo, Carrie, thank you so much. Appreciate it. All right.